that better?
Oh, you're good now. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
say
good.
say that all
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say that again.
No, it's a
Um,
good point. It's a good point. I think we need to talk about this.
yeah. So basically, all I was saying was that, like, after a show, obviously, your body's been through it. Like, you've done all this cardio, all this training, um, all like a huge cycle, which we also know like that has effects on your organ health, everything like that. So to think you're going to be able to go into the gym after that and like have this crazy rebound and build all this muscle is just unrealistic. Like, your body's just not prepared for that. Like, you're literally just beat up. Like, you're not fully recovered. It takes 8 to 12 weeks, that I would say, to let your
Yeah.
body come back to normal, to be in a position to build muscle. So I just think that these post-show phases should be used to maintain good body composition, get as much photos of yourself as you can before you get into the off season,
True.
and just like have fun with your training. Like, don't go in the gym and like don't train to progress necessarily. Just train to like kind of have fun and let your body kind of like almost like active recovery, I guess.
Yeah.
It's readjusting to being in a state of growth and like the central nervous system is completely fried, like completely. Like there's zero coming back from what you just did for 12 to 16 weeks. Like you need a recovery phase. For me post show, it's more so like the only compounds I'll use post show is like a little bit of test, a little bit of growth hormone, and maybe a little bit of insulin. And that's like that way I'm not like putting crazy anabolics in my system. I'm basically just getting the bare minimum of everything just to keep things moving a little bit forward without having to tax my central nervous system of trying to fucking throw all the weight on, trying to push through whatever. But like, I think it comes down to a lot of people think they can do that because they didn't really go that hard in their prep, right? Like,
Maybe, yeah,
you know
maybe.
what I mean? Like, if you went balls out for your prep, legitimately, like, didn't cheat on your diet once. Like, I had no cheat meals, no nothing the whole 16 weeks. I didn't eat anything I wasn't supposed to eat for 16 weeks. Which is fine. I honestly didn't give a shit. But training was balls to the wall, literally from start to finish.
Yeah.
Cardio from start to finish was balls to the wall. I don't fuck around with cardio. Mentally, I have been mentally locked into this show since I stepped off stage in Toronto. I've actually been mentally locked into the Olympia since January 2021. I was committed to making the Olympia for 2022. So, but once it was solidified in June, there has been nothing else I've been thinking about for 6 months. So I'm pretty fucking fried. I
Yeah, you
recognize
emptied the
that.
tank, bro. You fucking emptied the tank. And
Yeah.
that's what you're saying. Like, these guys, if you're all fucking motivated to get huge and get right back in the gym after a show, you probably didn't empty the tank.
Yeah.
Like, you
Like
should be
this.
looking forward to a break. You should be like, I just gave everything I fucking gave. Gonna
Yeah.
let my body, my mind reset so that you can give it your all again when you need to, right?
Yeah. This whole week has just been get the food back in. And when I say food, it's not like I'm eating junk or anything like that. It's just the food I was eating before contest prep, basically. So my off-season diet, essentially. It's all whole food. Just get the carbs back in, get some life back into my body, get some glycogen back in, recover, and literally just like live life as a bodybuilder. Like, there's no stress, there's no taxing anything. It's just I'm back into training. I'm gradually putting some weight back on, not really that crazy. I'm not trying to PR. I'm not trying to fucking like go balls out in the gym. It's just lift according to where my body's at right now, which is like in a pretty fucking tired state. Get the fluids back in. And then for me right now, it's just get a little bit of test back in because I haven't taken tests in obviously like probably a couple of weeks now. So it's just gradually getting back into the flow of things. And you're right, man. If you try and go balls out right away, a lot of guys, yeah, maybe they can do it because they're riding the high. They have the adrenaline pumping from the show, from the prep and everything. But you get to maybe, I'm not even going to say a good 4 weeks, but you get 4 weeks out of it. And then you're completely crashed now. Now you're fucked for the next 12 weeks because you're now you just wasted 16 weeks. And now it's contest prep time again. So that's why I think a lot of guys don't make a lot of progress in between shows. They might get their post show swole, they get pretty big. You can get pretty big after a show because your body's just in a extremely vulnerable state, so it just like shuttles all the nutrients. That's why you end up getting fat a lot of the
You're
time
like a
too.
dry sponge, right? Like, after a
Yeah,
show.
exactly. So like you
And
do get some out of it, but you have to be very careful because all that food and all that weight that you're putting on is stress that you're putting on as well. People don't realize that it's stress on the body, stress on the mind. And then again, like I said, like you're going to get a good 4 weeks out of it. And now you're fucked for the next 4 months. That's why a lot of guys lose their appetite completely. That's why a lot of guys lose their motivation completely. They have no energy. Their sleep starts to go. They're sleeping in. They're tired all the time.
Totally.
And because your
100%.
central nervous system is talking to you, it's telling you like, dude, like we need a fucking break. And a lot of people unfortunately have the mindset of like, no, I'm hard as nails. I'm tough. I'm gonna push through it. And it's like, well, man, do you care more about like appeasing your ego, or are you trying to be a really good bodybuilder? Because if you're trying to be a really good bodybuilder, you got to take some rest.
I think a lot of it's like this short-term thinking, right? Like like the best bodybuilders are long-term thinkers, right? If you are constantly thinking of the short term, like, oh, I just did a show, I need to be huge in 2 months.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, like you're probably 3 years away from a pro card. Like you
Yeah,
need
exactly.
to be you need to be thinking about the long game here, right? And that's going to be in this particular phase, just getting your body healthy, making sure that you stay lean so you're insulin sensitive. Because I know when I start a fucking off-season cycle after a show, I want my insulin sensitive to be as high as shit, so that when those drugs kick and I start bringing more food back in, that it's like this synergistic effect of like my body still being that dry sponge that it is after the show, but actually being ready to put on like more tissue, and my body's healthy. I can train hard. I don't have any joint pain. I don't have any messed up like tore like muscle tears or anything like that. Like, you know, and by these guys keeping the push after a show, all they're doing is they're making that off season where they're actually going to get results. They're just pushing that ahead further and further because they're prolonging the time they're going to need to recover.
Yeah.
Like they're just like after that show, like you're not going to avoid that recovery time.
No,
so you might as well just recover right after the show and then get back to business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of why I wish they had. I mean, they're doing it next year, but I wish they had the Olympia sooner. So you kind of get like next year's going to be November. So you kind of get like a 2 months post show to relax. And I like that. Like having that 2 month period post show where you can come off everything. You can, you know, reintroduce foods and just sort of gradually get back into training and everything versus like if anyone wanted to do the Arnold's, like they're right back into prep today. You know what I mean? It's like kind of fucked up.
I think that's why the long-term goal is kind of the most important thing, right? Like you were saying, Mo. So you need to know, like, for example, if you want to go from amateur to pro, you probably want to plan that over 5 years, you know, being realistic. Like, let's give myself 5 years. I have to do my first regional, I have to do the pro qualifier, I have to maybe account for a couple of losses here and there.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to go, you know, to the Olympia. Okay, that's another, you know, 5 years, 7 years, whatever. You got to plan it out the same way. You can't just pick shows at random and expect to, you know, make the progress, because you can see that people get stuck in the amateur ranks. You can see how even pros get stuck just in the pro ranks, not making it to the Olympia by picking the wrong shows, or just, you know, whether it's not getting themselves fully in shape and then, you know, trying to compete in that way, or if they're trying to hold a peak too long, whatever. There's so many scenarios, but the most important thing is like, what is my 10-year goal? What is my 15-year goal? With bodybuilding, I think once you start taking PEDs, you probably have like 20 years. Like that's probably like the threshold, right? So you have to max. Exactly. That's if you're lucky. That's, you know,
like I'd say like 10, 5 to 10.
Yeah, like if God has blessed you.
It depends how responsible you are as well.
Exactly. But I think if God has blessed you with genetics to be able to use drugs for 20 years, you're in a good spot. You can really plan, you know, like we never had mentors to like help us plan our futures in bodybuilding. We just had coaches that were like, hey, cool, bro, give me your money and I'll get you to the next stage. And you're like, all right, next stage, let's go. And then you fucking give it 100%, and then they don't help you with the next step again. And so what do? That's why we want to try to help you guys with this. We want to prevent you guys from making the mistakes of these post-show rebound, these gurus that tell you you're going to blow up. You're only going to blow up with fat and inflammation. If you start eating like shit, stop cardio, stop posing, stop being like a bodybuilder, start being like a slob, and then try to reverse it again. It's hard to do that. It's more about trying to maintain as many of the good habits as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I've had discussions with these guys that are doing this, like literally like one guy, and like he has a really popular coach. And the ironic thing about this is that this coach ended his career early because of health issues. And then yet he is getting his clients to stay on cycle after these 20, 25 week preps to catch this fucking rebound. That's imaginary. And the clients believe in them. They're like, yeah, but you know, he knows what he's talking about. Like he was so-and-so. Like this motherfucker was a pro for 5 years and had to quit. Like, so why are you taking advice from him? Like think about it logically. And then I just talked to another young guy. You know, I'm not trying to put anyone on blast if you guys are watching this. I'm absolutely not. I'm just using you guys as an example so other people can learn. But, you know, this guy reached out to me we just had our local show 4 weeks ago, like 4.5 weeks ago, right? This guy's like, hey, I just started my cycle. What do you think? I'm like, what do you mean you just started your cycle? The show was 4 weeks ago. And you did drugs for 20 weeks leading into the show.
Yeah.
I'm like, so when exactly is your body not on steroids here?
Yeah.
Right. And you're like 21.
That's stress too. Like people don't realize like that stress on the body, stress on the mind. But again, like your central nervous, like, dude, your body has to be doing something with those drugs. Like it has to be.
Here's my favorite part. When these young guys are like 21, 22, I'm like, yeah, but my blood work's good. I'm like, man, you're fucking 20 years old.
Should be
what
good.
Do you mean your blood work? Of course your blood work's good.
I hope it's good.
Your blood work's going to be shit when you're 26 if you keep this up.
I promise you that, because mine was shit at 26. My red blood, everything was fucked. Like at 26 years old, I got my blood work done. Everything was fucked. I'm 29 now. I just got my blood work done on Wednesday after the show, and everything came back perfect. Everything except for my liver enzymes, which obviously have to be inflamed based on training, based on orals, and just based
if you're a bodybuilder, you can expect high liver enzymes.
You have to have elevated liver enzymes. Like it's just like you're never going to get around it. However, everything else, kidneys, blood count, hormones, everything came back in perfect range, which I was genuinely surprised. I was like, okay, that's pretty fucking cool. I just went through a whole contest prep of, the last few weeks were obviously a harder push with everything, and I felt not as healthy for the last few weeks. But I mean, that's just like you're just drained, obviously, from contest prep and low food.
I think this should always be the case, though, with like especially someone in their 20s who's like coming off as like you did a responsible cycle. You had a good coach. You ate a very healthy diet. You took all your supplements. Like this is the reason you do all.
I overcompensated in a lot of ways. Like that's when we talked about it before the show. I said like I disagree that I believe that we could be healthy while we do this. We just have to overcompensate with health supplements, with the food choices, with prioritizing gut health, with prioritizing your blood. Like you have to prioritize it. If you just let it go and just sort of do your thing, you're probably not going to have the best blood work coming out of a contest. And that's also like expected and acceptable, as long as post contest, you're like, okay, now it's a health phase. Now you have to sort of reverse everything you just did. And the absolute worst thing you can do, in my opinion, is jump back on cycle. However, I would only ever say, like, if you're going to stay on a little bit of test because you want to keep your hormones balanced. Otherwise, do not stay on anything else. Like you're literally just asking for shit blood work. You're going to toxify your body, and then you're, like we said, like you're just going to fuck up your off season for when your body is actually ready to start growing muscle again.
Well,
right?
I think just a lot of guys that are younger in the sport, they're maybe like just scared to not be on something all the time.
Yeah, they think they're going to
not be on something. It honestly really is okay. I think one of the best things you could do is, at least like when you're young and you're just trying to get bigger, see if you can stay off stuff and still be like big, just with eating and training. Because if you can't do that,
then you should be able to.
You need to be able to do that. I think it builds up your confidence as a bodybuilder, like as someone who maybe isn't used to being big. It's like you can prove to yourself, like, hey, I can be big. Like, I can be big without steroids. Like that's a good thing to do. And dude, like, because like we were all smaller at one point, and you have to push your set points, but you have to be realistic too. Like I need to be able to hold a body weight without anabolics in my system, so my body can get used to having that as a set point. Because if it's always just pushing the set point with steroids, what happens when you don't have any steroids in your body, or you're on a lower dose, or for whatever reason you have to come off to kind of fix health problems? Then all of a sudden you lose everything. So fuck, man, it's not the steroids that get you big. It's the eating, it's the training, it's the pushing of weights.
I don't think you should drop weight. I don't think you should drop weight when you come off, in my opinion.
No, I think it depends. It depends a little bit, because first of all, how big is the person? Because like if I get up to 330 in my off-season,
like
it's okay for me to come down to 320 or 315.
But
you're only like 240.
You lose 5-10 pounds, like it's water and whatever.
Yes,
but you're not losing tissue. You're not losing 20-30 pounds.
Yeah, like if you're 230 and you drop down to 220 post cycle, like 4 weeks post cycle, whatever, you should be able to get yourself back to 225, 228 with just food, just training, just recovery. Like
totally,
you should be able to get yourself back to that almost point where you were on full cycle within a couple pounds. So that way your start point is essentially the same as when you came off. And then that way you're already in a good position to grow. So then when you add your cycle back in, you're 225, 228. Now you're 235. Now you're pushing 240. That's how you grow without having to like necessarily having to take gear, or you're able to come off, and then you're setting your body up for much better and healthier off season so that you can grow without having to push the fucking dosages to insane amounts where you're just going to get side effects anyway.
So basically it comes down to this. It's like whether you're, so let's say in the off season, you do an off season cycle, right? You want to keep the gains, you have to hold it without the drugs, right?
Yes.
Like 16-week cycle, 8-week hold cruise, and then you can do another cycle. Same thing with cutting. Like you get shredded, you want to hold that shred for 8 to 10 weeks without the drugs, and then start your next blast. So people just need to get okay with, like, you know, especially in the off season, right? Like you do a big muscle building cycle, you're round, full, maybe put a little bit of fat on, but you're still huge. But we all know, like during that cruise period, you're going to deflate a little bit. And I think that's where guys get fucked in the head, because they lose that muscle fullness, that body fat's still there. They look a little bit softer than they're kind of used to. And they're like, oh shit, I'm losing everything. I got to jump back on. And that's what happens. That's why these guys stay off for 4 weeks and they get back on, because as soon as their body starts to retract a little bit, they just like jump the fucking gun, right?
Yeah, well, I know there's guys that are like early 20s that are doing this, that are looking at guys like Jordan Peter, and he's known for, I guess, doing like stronger, you know, cruises, I guess you could call them, right? Or higher dose cruises, which it doesn't really make a lot of sense for most people. Almost everybody.
He's also like 300 pounds. He's fucking
I don't see how it makes sense. I don't see how it makes sense ever.
Exactly. It only makes sense for him.
What's his
not ever, but it only makes sense for him, and that's cool
in his head. Yeah, but I think he admittedly had like mental issues about like being big and everything.
I just feel like we're like people are listening to like, oh, like these are like the bodybuilders that are just going on. Like, no, it's literally, I just want to say it again, it's literally only because we want to help the younger guys that are listening to not make the same mistakes that we all did, and that
we all did it.
Because these are all the guys that we see because they're popular. Yeah, we're not as popular, and because it's not a popular opinion. The popular opinion is these are fancy cycles that help you get huge. We're gonna still get you huge if you listen to us, but you'll still be able to get huge for fucking when you're in your 30s, because we're getting there now, and we want to still be big even in our 40s and be healthy. Yeah. And then,
man, dude, I've been doing this shit 10 fucking years now.
We want to look like,
and I feel damn good.
Butler, you know.
Yeah.
We don't want to look like, you know, these guys that were huge pros that are gone. We want to look like the huge pros that are fucking still around.
Dude, I just had this conversation with a client. I just got to tell you guys this because, you know, this guy is super responsible, did a show, taking his time off. And he's like, yeah, I got to get my blood work done before we start again. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now, man, your blood work's going to be fine, because this is another 22-year-old guy. Yeah. I'm like, and he's like, yeah, I was really conscious. I took all my supplements and stuff. I'm like, of course you did. I'm like, because this is how we do it, so that I'm like, you're not going to have bad blood work in your 20s. I'm like, we're trying to avoid having bad blood work in your 30s and 40s here. Like, that's why we're doing all this stuff, so that when you hit 30, you can keep bodybuilding. Whereas we're seeing it in bodybuilders now, man. I'm not going to put these guys, like, say who these guys are, but there's like a couple of guys that had to drop out of the Olympia, things like that, because of health issues, and they're just in their early 30s. And I can tell you right now, this is the beginning of the end of their careers for sure. Well, because they got really big really fast, and they blasted drugs like crazy, and now you're going to pay for it, right? You're going to pay for it. So
it's not much fun to bodybuild with health issues, man. So, you know, it's a lot more fun to be able to bodybuild when everything feels healthy, and the only way to do that is by thinking ahead.
Yeah, man, bodybuilding's scary, because like what always scared me would be like the feeling of regret of doing something really stupid, and then like going to the hospital one day and being like, yeah, you got to be on dialysis now.
Yeah.
Because of something you did that you knew you shouldn't have did.
Listen, I've been in the hospital.
And you got to be so careful, because with coaches, what I've noticed is certain coaches, they forget to pay attention at the end, you know. And like, I'm not here to fucking say names or say anything about anybody's coaching ability, but sometimes when you have certain clients that you pay more attention to and certain clients that pay less attention to, the ones that get less attention, they're the ones that are at risk.
Yeah,
because they're the people that don't quite know enough to make their own decisions yet. And yet they're listening to someone who they respect, and they want to listen to you 100%, because that's the way you're supposed to do it in bodybuilding. Listen to your coach 100% no matter what. Yeah. And sometimes you don't even question them. But I think it's okay to question them for you to understand that you're being safe.
I think it's always okay to ask for something to be explained to you.
Yeah.
Like a coaching decision or anything like that. I don't think you should ever, if you have a coach where you can't ask them, hey, why are we doing this? And they don't give you an answer, that's not a good coach, in my
There's some
opinion.
coaches out there who have high credibility. A lot of them work with females specifically.
I know exactly where this is going.
There's a few, unfortunately.
Especially
But
since you said females, yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
listen. I'm just gonna say
And
that.
there's a couple of them.
Don't
too.
ask why. Don't ask
Yeah,
why.
yeah. Don't ask why. Why are you questioning me?
Yeah.
You don't trust me. Why are you questioning me? And it puts them in a position where like they paid for the coach, right? They paid a year in advance. They paid months in advance. Whatever
Or
it
it's
is.
like this is what everyone else does to win. This
Yep.
is what all the pros are doing. It's like, I don't
But
know.
is
This
it
is coaching.
bad?
This is coaching though. Like we're coaching a
Unfortunately,
human
yeah.
being. We're not this like how did we go back to like cookie cutter?
But
Yeah,
all I'm going to say is if you have a coach who has a massive ego who does not let you ask questions and gets offended if you ask a question or gets offended if you question anything that they do, in my opinion, it's probably not someone that you want to be working with because they don't have your best interests at heart and genuinely they don't care about your well-being. They care about their reputation and they care about their win or their whatever, and they don't give a fuck about whether you die or not because at the end of the day, you're just another Instagram post to get them more money.
so
right?
true, man. Fucking fact.
You have to be able to ask your coach questions and your coach has to be equally invested in the process as you. And if they're not, I mean, whatever, do what you want to do, but just my opinion, I just don't think that's going to be the right fit for you long term. And that's something I had to address as well. Just not having that equal sort of investment from a coach or whatever.
And the thing is too, like I don't think like coaches are like malicious or like trying to like hurt people. I think they're just like ignorant. I think
They're
just
ignorant,
like
yeah. They're not
delusional.
malicious. So
They're
some
just
may be
ignorant and
malicious.
delusional. They don't think that what they're doing is harmful. They think that what they're doing is helpful and that they think that it's going to get them the wins that they want.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that.
You know,
They think
like
they in their head they're like, this is what's going to help you win.
right. And
that's all I care about.
The athlete, us when we were younger, we just wanted to win.
Yeah.
And so maybe you guys were different, but I would try to pick the coaches that I thought would help me fucking win. And I didn't care how crazy they were. Yeah. I was just like, whoa, that guy worked with someone, he got him huge as fuck. That's the guy I need to work with. But now, don't you realize that that's it's not the right way to look at things.
Risky.
It's very risky because when I do that, I find the guys that will abuse me with drugs or allow me to abuse myself with drugs. Probably is a better way to say it.
I've seen some protocols. Johnny, he sent me a protocol from a coach that he was. I'm not going to name names, but he was going to work with him a few years ago. Dude, this guy, and he's a reputable coach in the industry, and he coaches some pros. This guy sends this was 20 weeks out, sends a 20-week list protocol. I think I saw every fucking drug listed in that protocol with week to week to week to week. He's already got the whole cycle planned for 20 weeks. Every drug, and then all you see is the dosages just keep going up and up and up. And you're like, where do you put all of that oil and those orals? Like, dude, what is your body? And it just, that's what they do. They're like, here's your protocol. Go buy the drugs, spend $10K on all these drugs, and good luck, man. Hopefully you don't die in the process, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
I don't know if you guys realize this, but they're also the coaches that give you weird ass shit on your diets. Like it'll be like post workout, like 1 cup of fucking grape juice blended with like half cup oats. You're like,
yeah,
why would I consume that, dude? Like, fast sugars with slow sugars. You're like, all right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just gonna.
It's just this old shit that it's like all this old bro science that they learn and they've never taken time to further educate themselves because they just get 1 or 2 high level pros a year.
They get genetic anomalies.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, exactly.
Freaks, absolute freaks, and they just ride it. And I think they know that deep down. They're like, well, this works for this guy. I'm just going to keep riding with this, even though the other 90% of my clients don't get the same results. Who gives a shit? Because this guy's my marketing cash cow, and I'm just getting hundreds of fucking clients off this one guy. Who gives a shit if they don't get results? Because at the end of the day, my bank account's going up. So
yeah, it's a fucking
and they get the clout anyway. They get the credibility, they get the marketing, they get the clout. They're on a high regard, high pedestal because they have a couple of guys who are just genetic freaks. Can handle all the drugs, but then again, then they're out by 35, right? So
Well,
it's just a matter of how much money can I make.
bodybuilding. That's bodybuilding for you nowadays because of the media. It's kind of
Yep.
portraying, the gossip and the drama more so than like
Yeah.
what's actually going on. Like it's not even focused on the athlete anymore. It's just focused on like whatever like the next like news topic is.
Fitness is such a money grab now, man. It's like it's all about just like how can we fucking pull money out of consumers, basically, like between coaching and supplements and ebooks and like what else, man? Is there like everything you can think of? Like we're even trying to like come out with like fancy shakers, like like there's like it's like how you put protein powder in water and you shake it up. Like your shaker's not better than any other shaker. Just shut up. like it's so stupid.
Man, like the Olympia Expo was it was a fucking time, Tyler? Like, dude, like just the people trying to sell you shit.
Dude,
of all, like,
the TENS machine. The
TENS machine guy was great. Yeah, so Mo, like we're walking by and like my neck was hurting because I was carrying this fucking 100-pound backpack all weekend, right? I'm like, all right, this guy's got a TENS machine. And it's like, guaranteed to get rid of pain in 5 minutes. I'm like, yo, dude, hook me up, put it on my neck. Puts it on. First of all, like the pads, I don't know if you guys ever worked in a physio place, but you need to change the pads because they stick to people's skin and it picks up people's skin cells. It's gross and they're oil and shit. So he's putting these oily ass pads on my back. I'm like, all right, so good. And so we're going 5 minutes and like he's like, yeah, you can turn it up, change it. I like turn it up. It's like full blast, like barely feel this thing. Anyways, did you have it on too, Tyler?
Yeah, I tried it and I was just like, I don't really feel much.
Yeah, so we're not feeling it. We take it off. The guys, I'm like, I'm just being nice. I'm like, so how much do these go for? And he got so excited. He's like, 440. But if you take it right now, I'll give it to you for 400. I'm like, nah, dude, I think I'm good. He's like, you know what? I'll give it to you for 250 right now. I'll give you 2 of them for 250. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm good. I'm out of here. He's like, 150 right now. You got to take it. I'm like, you're being extremely aggressive with me now. He's like, come on, man. I'll sell you 3 of them for 150. I'm like, dude, you're devaluing me so much. That's how I know this is a piece of shit, and I'm out of here.
Holy shit! He went from 1 for 400 to 3 for 150.
Really quick. Like I only said a few words too, and he was just going off.
He was going crazy. He was really, really trying to. He was. You know what though? I feel bad because they probably spend so much money to be there and to bring inventory there, and it was the second day, and he's probably like, man, I can't go home with these. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna get a lot of shit if I go home with all this fucking product, but. The same time, man, it's like these expos, man. Like, I mean, at least that expo, there wasn't like a lot of like practical product to be sold. Like, there wasn't like a lot of like practical vendors for bodybuilding. It was just like a lot of like pain management, TRT, like just like things that you're like, I wouldn't go to the booth and grab things or buy things or you know what I mean? Like, there weren't like a crazy amount of supplement companies. There weren't like a crazy amount of clothing companies. There weren't like a crazy amount of like there were some like food companies and whatever, but like I feel like the Arnold Expo is the expo to be at because it's not as much accessory stuff like miscellaneous. It's a lot of supplements, a lot of like food vendors, a lot of clothing vendors.
They did have like fucking what they have like elbow wrestling or what was it?
Man,
hand wrestling. What was
they
that?
They had arm wrestling, but they had like a tug of war type of thing. They had a lot of weird different things there. It was
Vegas, man. It's Vegas, dude.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Vegas is all about making quick bucks. There's probably people there like, oh, look at all these fitness idiots. Like, let's see if we can sell them these dumbass massage machines and shit. Like, like that's what it is. I think that's probably why you see more of that in Vegas. Just so many like just degenerates are coming out of the woodwork.
Oh, that's man, true. You know that wristband. That chick she was selling the wristband. So it's like a wrist. It's just like a wristband that like helps with your balance, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it does. I bet it really helps a lot.
I'm like, she told me that so it was just a rubber wristband, like one of those Live Strong rubber wrist. She's like, oh, or the guy, she calls the guy over. The guy's like, oh yeah, it's got this magnetic fucking graphite, whatever, like supercharged from the earth. I'm like, it looks like just a rubber band, dude. Like, there's no way. So I had to ask Eric because this guy knows everything. And he was just basically explaining about how it just changes like polarities. Like it's just like if you're holding your cell phone, that's like one polarity. So now you can test someone and be like, oh look, your cell phone makes you weak. Or you can like then put like another like electron thing onto that phone and then it negates it. It's basically just turning on and off a switch in your body, which you could do with literally anything. So they literally just lie to your face and tell you it's something when it's literally rubber.
Yeah.
That's what I find funny. Cause I was just like, there's no way that this is actually doing anything, because like my balance was already pretty good. So I'm like, so then she gives it to me. I'm like, it feels the exact same. So I kind of knew already, but I wanted to know why some people it can change, and that's why. It's just like it's turning on and off, like basically your nervous system. It's fucking weird.
Can you imagine trying to sell someone a rubber band bracelet and telling them that it's going to actually do anything at all besides just have a rubber band on their fucking arm? Like I would hate my life if I was doing that shit every day, honestly.
Well, that dude looked like he hasn't washed his hair in like 16 months or something like that. So
yeah, that's called living without a purpose.
exactly.
Everyone, people avoid living that type of life.
The more I look like a hippie, the more I can sell this piece of shit to someone.
That's what I mean. That's what I laugh about.
Pieces of shit. They know all kinds of things.
Yeah, shit.
Fucking weird, man.
So, how do we feel about Hadi as the new champ?
Well,
I feel good about it. I feel like he deserved to win. Honestly, I feel like he deserved to win the past 3 years, to be honest.
Definitely could have been there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think
obviously
he nailed it. I think he nailed it more this year, though. Like he's
way fuller.
He was way fuller. He was huge.
Yeah. I was gonna say he could have been a little tighter for Hadi. But he has set such a standard. He set such a high standard that you're like, oh, he's not as conditioned, but it's like he's still literally the most shredded guy in the show by far.
Fucking peeled.
Yeah, he was the most complete guy by far. No gaps, no nothing. He came in full as a house, which I believe was the deciding factor between him and Derek, because there's only 1 point difference after prejudging. Just from what I was watching, it was the fullness, it was the density from front to back, the hardness from front to back. But you know what? That if I'm being honest, Derek in 1 year might be able to pull ahead if he comes in just that much thicker, which undoubtedly he will.
Yeah, agreed.
He's the guy who can take Hadi out. But if I'm being honest, I don't really see anybody else right now who can, until Nick sort of hits that stride of like hard, dense. Like he's obviously fucking massive. He's hard and dense too, but like relative to Hadi, he needs that extra little thin skin.
Hadi's really got the quads on 2 of those guys too.
Yeah.
Both of those guys have pretty they just don't have huge quad sweeps, like
huge, and Nick lacks that detail still. I think Nick just lacks that muscle maturity detail in like the thin split between each muscle. I think it's just sort of he's just so big right now.
And his shape, like I just don't think Nick has a Mr. Olympia winning shape.
He needs to. Well, I think he just came in really full. The
only reason he doesn't is because those other 2 guys are in front of him. You know what I mean?
And Derek
has the best X frame, and Hadi has the best fully filled in frame. Because for Hadi, no matter what angle you look at him, his legs are like completely full and round from every angle.
Yeah,
Derek, his legs look good from certain angles, but a little shallow from other angles.
Yeah,
Derek has by far the best midsection on that stage.
Best shape overall.
But maybe Hadi has maybe better in the abs and thighs.
Hadi's more complete.
Derek looks like a little like his muscle maturity is not quite there yet either. Like,
he's only 20. I think he's only 28, 29.
I think he needs
He's still young. Like him and Nick are still young. Like they're still new. They're still young muscle. And not only that, but they're so massive that I think it'll take a little bit until they're like 31, 32 for them to fill out the amount of mass that they have to get that quality, mature, dense muscle, like hard detail.
Dude, it's so funny too. Like when you see guys in person, like like I've seen Derek in person, but like it was a while ago, and like I let because I listen to other podcasts and like everybody's biased and listen to people's like reviews on guys, and people kept putting Derek like so far away, like not even in the top 5.
That was crazy to me.
And dude, I should have just stuck to my guns. Like when you see these guys in person, like when you see Derek's back, it's so fucking thick. It's just like, how could that not be like the best back in the world right now? Because Hadi's is a little bit better. That's the only reason. But it's like, fuck, man.
But only
do you have our placings there, Robin? That we are.
Honestly, when I was gone, not rearranged the whole office, but I'm sure it's here somewhere. Let me find
I fucked up big time with Bonac. Bonac really fucked me over.
Dude, do you remember when you were saying Bonac and me and Robin were like,
listen, Bonac from the Arnolds, he beat Brandon. Like Brandon was 4th. Bonac from the Arnolds beat Brandon. So if Bonac from the Arnolds showed up a little bit better, if he showed up to the Olympia, he probably would have been fourth. I don't think he would have been. He might have beat Nick.
Yeah.
He definitely would not have beat Derek or Hottie, in my opinion. But he arguably from the Arnolds or Boston, he could have been, I think, third or fourth.
I thought he kind of had a big waist and small legs at the Olympia.
Dude, he looked like dog shit because he was. Yeah. He must have been insanely flat. Like he looked like he didn't eat for 3 days. That's how he looked. Because you're right, he had a big midsection, no back, in which he always has a very, very thick back. And his legs were just complete dog shit. And that's not to say he is a dog shit bodybuilder. He just really, really missed the mark on that day. Same thing with Ramy. So obviously Chad, maybe I don't want to speculate too much, but I think they pushed diuretics too much between the two.
Our older ones were more accurate. Originally, what we said was we all basically agreed Ramy, Derek, and Hottie.
Okay, so we had 2 out of 3.
But then we changed it up.
The most recent ones is what counts.
No, let's do the original.
Tyler said Bonac, Nick, Ramy, Hottie, and Derek. So basically, you run the Bonac chain for that one.
Yeah,
Mo, you said Ramy, Hottie, Nick, Derek, and Andrew. I said Ramy, Hottie, Nick, Derek, and Bonac.
Nice. So we're all pretty close. Like
you're way off, bro. You're way off.
Minus Bonac and Ramy. We had.
But when your first place pick is like actually like 9th place or something like that, that's bad.
I fucked up. Bonac fucked me over.
Yeah, he's deceiving. It's because he started.
Man, I was really impressed with him at the Arnolds and Boston. He fucking came back and was like, I'm back. And I was really impressed, man. I really had him beating Brandon handedly. I don't think it was a very close contest between the two of them, if I'm being honest. If I was judging objectively, I would have had Bonac winning that show handedly. And then he just fucking missed it for the Olympia. And
I think Bonac emptied the tank early this year. He emptied the tank early.
Yeah, he did. And he didn't come back any better. He came back worse than last year and the year before, in my opinion.
Dude, it's tough to do the Arnold and the Olympia in the same year. I don't care what anybody says.
But here's the thing, though. A lot of guys missed the mark, and I think it had to do with the timing.
Absolutely.
We're probably expecting to go on stage at 9 p.m., and they didn't go on stage until like 12:30.
But I think I agree. I 100% agree. I think that's why a lot of guys were off. But I just think like when everyone's dealing with the same variable,
100%. Yeah.
Fuck it, right?
Oh, I agree. I agree with that too. Like you're a professional at the end of the day, and you got to adapt to the. But I'm just saying, like they planned like diuretic use. They planned carb loading. So it's a matter of, you missed the mark, but it's also a matter of like so many guys missed the mark. You have to kind of question, like, did timing have a little bit to do with it? They obviously, like Derek still nailed it. Hottie still nailed it.
Yeah, it's only timing on an individual level, right? Because like if the show is pushed back 3 hours, everybody would be pushed back 3 hours. So
everyone dealt with the same circumstances, but some bodies may not have been peaked for 9 o'clock. Maybe they actually peaked for 12 o'clock. Yeah. So they would have had a later peak that way. Maybe some guys weren't in as much of a vulnerable state where like you could spill in 5 minutes or you could flat in 5 minutes. Like there's so many variables that come into play that we'll never know fully because we don't know the protocols. We don't know the timing that they were trying to go for. We don't know what they did the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like we know nothing about what they did. It's just a matter of like accepting that it's just a lot of guys missed the mark a lot. And, I'm not like blaming timing. I'm just saying it's a factor at the end of the day for a lot of guys that they just mistimed based on the schedule, based on their peak, whatever it is. And a lot of them didn't even get it back. A lot of them actually came back Saturday.
There's a lot of guys that are better than they are, but don't peak very well.
Yeah.
Dude, I still think if Andrew Jack comes in at 100%, I think he fucking kills everyone. I honestly.
Well, he's top 5, 100%. There's no question.
Just like even when he's out there, with those top guys that are placing ahead of him,
you still look
hard to look at anybody else, man.
Yeah, you're still looking at him.
So hard to look at anybody.
However, his back shots are just extremely underwhelming compared to his front shots. And I'm not saying they're bad. It's just like when there's that much of an imbalance on a bodybuilder, you're like, I have to go with the more balanced.
I think it's just a conditioning thing, though. I think if he's lean, I think he just holds all his fat and water on his back. I think if he's leaner, that back is big.
And that's something you learn over time. You learn how to get in better shape over time. So like Samson, for example, like a lot of guys, especially big guys, they're not going to nail the lights out conditioning right away because one, they're going to get smaller and they're not going to like that. Two, the coach is going to get worried that they're getting smaller. So they're like, well, I don't want to bring this guy in stringy. So let's stay full. And then over time, over a few shows, over time, like they get used to hitting that new level of conditioning. they learn, their body learns, and then they start adapting a lot more. And like, I'm sure you guys have hit that too. Like every show, you just keep hitting new levels of conditioning because your body knows how it's supposed to feel, and your body can then operate under those circumstances.
It's important to have like a coach with a good eye, though.
Oh, for sure.
Because I think a lot of guys miss their mark only because they're not fully getting conditioned. It doesn't matter, what you think you're at, because you're the in it. Like you're not going to see yourself properly. But the coach has to be the guy that says, this is when we push, this is when we pull back.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter. You can't peak if you're not fully conditioned.
That's coaching right there. Like that's the point. Like people think coaching is like the miracle diet, the miracle cycle, the miracle training program. Those are all honestly not that important when it comes to like coaching, like as a whole. The purpose of coach, because anyone can follow a fucking contest prep diet and get in shape. Literally anyone can just stop eating a lot of carbs and get in shape. You can do a ton of cardio and get in shape, train your ass off, get in shape. These are all
not even, because then the problem is then you don't get fully in shape because you get stuck somewhere.
Well, that's it, right? But where the coaching comes in is knowing how hard to push, when to push, knowing how to read the body so that you're not pushing too much too long. Then you know when to pull back, you know when to add food back in, you know when to. It's timing and pace is in my opinion, is the purpose of the coach outside of like the programming. Like you need a good coach needs to know, okay, is this guy going to be really like, how many more days can I push this guy before he really fucking starts to go downhill? Like you got a 2 to 3 day threshold when you're flat of like, you can push those 2 to 3 days, but if you're going past those 3 days, it's going to be really hard to even get to fill that glycogen back out. Like, especially if you're really, really close to a show. And I've made that mistake before. I've talked about it before, but I've made that mistake before where I've had guys in really good shape 3 weeks out and I kept pushing the conditioning and I just couldn't get them back. Like didn't matter how much food they ate. There was just no coming back from it because their body was just depleted at that point. And being a good coach is recognizing that, okay, I can't push this guy that much harder. And if I do, we're actually going to, we might get marginally better conditioning, but as we saw with someone like Ian, for example, is push conditioning a little bit too much, push the dryness a little bit too much, and you couldn't get that fullness back. And it's the fullness with the balance of conditioning that makes the perfect peak on show day. And you need the balance of both.
So hard to nail, man.
So do you guys think that Hani Rambod is now secured himself as the best coach in the world?
Yeah. Okay. I think so.
Jansen's up there too for peaking. I think Jansen is a very good coach for peaking as well. But if we're talking GOAT right now for coaching, I mean, Hani had number 1 in the world.
But he only coaches the best people with the best genetics. I just got to say that.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's a good point.
I just have to say that. Name one champion that hasn't had elite fucking genetics that he's
got. Chris, I was going to say he's got the first and classic physique too, and he is literally like a genetic anomaly. But
that's what I was going to say is that he's so selective with who he works with.
For a fucking reason. The FST7 is going to work on any of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
fact.
Yeah,
Lee Priest said it because they were talking about it on It's Just Bodybuilding, I think, and they were doing like a live, and they were talking about the like Hani having all these winners and stuff, and Lee Priest goes like, my grandmother could have fucking prepped all of those people, and they could have won. Like,
to be fair though,
that's what he does, man. Like, I bet you if Chris Bumstead didn't have all his other sponsors and companies that he's part of, he'd probably sponsor him too. He would do everything.
Yeah.
And he just goes all in with you.
But we can argue Chris was his by far best. Like lights out, bar none. He beat anything he's ever looked like before. Biggest, fullest, shredded, peak, dry, hard, everything. Like he had nothing that he was lacking other than a potential like bicep tear or something.
Dude, I've honestly never seen someone win an Olympia so handedly before.
But and Ramon was pretty fucking good too. He made him look like an amateur.
Yeah.
Like so, you got to give him credit for that.
And so much smaller. How does Chris look that big compared to you guys?
Because
I swear to give that guy an extra 10 pounds or something.
I think they gave him an extra 1.5 inches.
They fucking had to. He looks so much bigger than all you guys.
Think he's only like 6.5, and I think they put him at like 6'2" or something. Or
they count his hair probably.
I don't want to say that for sure. I could be wrong, so I don't know for sure. But I do remember him saying back in the day, like 3 or 4 years ago, he's like, "Oh, they put my height up 1 inch or something." I remember him saying that. He's like, I'm only
I'm not
5'11"
saying shit
shorter.
about the league, but I'm just saying that he looked a lot bigger.
Yep, he was on
than
another
all of
level
you
of
guys.
size, and like, even I'm thinking like, dude, I don't know if I can even get that big with my
But
weight cap. Like,
well, that's the thing. But he is also like he's like one of the tallest. I think only Fabian was taller.
yeah,
That's that you
I
have to
think so
take that
too.
into
Urs
consideration
maybe,
too.
Urs might be up there in height too.
I think ours is like 5'10".
How tall? What's Chris's height? 6'2"?
No, I think he's only like 6.5 to 6'1", but I think they put him in at 6'2", to be honest. Because my uncle's 6'2", I think, or 6'1", and Chris is
Fucking
shorter.
huge. He could have been top 6 in the Open.
Yeah,
I truly believe that.
yeah. I mean, because you have to
Maybe not
take
top
into
6, maybe not top 6, but
no,
like
but you
top
have
10.
to. He might be
Top
because you have
10.
to take into consideration his detail too. He was
Yeah.
way more detailed than anyone in the Open class, arguably, other than maybe Hottie and Derek, but pretty fucking close. If not, he's pretty
fucking close.
And with how big he is for how shredded he is, like that's pure muscle right there. So when you put that next to a guy who is bigger but definitely softer, Chris might actually edge him out because it's the how
He's so
how much
pleasing to
muscle
look
there is.
at, dude. It's just like the shape, everything. The leg, the detail in the quads.
Yeah,
Detail in the
honestly,
quads.
that's what I was gonna say. It's
What are those
quad
rect
detail.
femmes? What are those rectus femoris? They're the most developed rect femmes ever.
That's what I was gonna say,
in
man.
human history.
That's what it is. It's the actual detail in his quads, and because they are big fucking quads,
Yeah.
his arms are actually like super small.
they everything.
Imagine if you had
much
Breon
bigger.
Ansley's fucking
Did he
biceps.
fuck up like a synthol injection in one of his biceps or something?
That's what I'm saying. But it
Like,
doesn't
one of
even
those
matter
biceps
because,
was
dude,
I
when
don't
you
care.
look,
I don't give a shit that if he did or not. But I'm just saying one of those biceps was like falling off.
It looked like he had a.
that's what I'm saying.
Or,
It doesn't even matter because you're just looking at his quads, man. You're just like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
There's just so much detail there that
And
you
his
can't.
lats too.
Yeah, you can't even look away. You're like, holy
You
fuck.
literally don't look at his arms. I never
You
look.
don't
at
even
his
look at his arms.
You don't. You're right. You don't look at his
You
arms.
don't look at his arms ever. It goes right to his lats, his fucking tiny waist.
Even
and
on
then
his side chest, what are you looking at? You're not looking at his arms. You're barely even looking at his chest. You're looking at his glutes.
Yeah, his side leg. His side leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how he wins, man.
He's got it all figured out, man.
Yeah, he's just changed all the poses. He's like, this isn't a side chest, this is a side glute now.
Yeah, this is a side glute. Yeah. Oh shit, man.
Yeah, he
That's
set the
crazy.
standard though, and someone like myself, I'm just fucking excited because like to me, I see a lot of room to grow, and like that's the whole point of this is to grow and get better and just improve. So
Yeah, you better grow an inch, bud.
Yeah.
Said you better grow an inch.
Dude, I did. They put me at 5'10". Dude, they put me at 5'10". I'm like,
you gotta go see Eric Seifert once a week.
dude, I
him to
fucking
stretch your
grew an
shit
inch.
out.
I was getting pulled. I was getting my joints pulled. I was getting my neck pulled. I was getting everything stretched out before the show. And I go in there, stand tall, because I'm like, I'm not fucking around. Because if I'm 5'8", 3/4, I made weight regardless of 5'8", 5'9", didn't matter. Because Ron in Toronto was like, dude, you're barely 5'9", man. He's like, I don't want them to like fuck you over if you're like half an inch or a quarter of an inch, an eighth of an inch under, and then you have to make 7 pounds less. So I made weight for just in case for 5'8", 3/4 or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to stand tall. I'm going to make sure I'm 5'9". And in my head, I'm like, I'm probably standing tall enough to get 5'9.5". Bro, they put the thing on, they're like 5'10". I'm like, okay, well, I'm definitely not 5'10", but what the fuck, man? Like now I wish they make it a thing because there's so many issues right now with the height.
They have to. There's so many people bitching about it.
I'm going to pray that they're like, okay, whatever your Olympia height was, that's your height going forward. So then if it is, I'm 5'10",
20 pounds.
it's like 215.
Dude, that'd be fucking sick. I hope
Then I have a real chance of getting that big. Then I do. But if I'm 5'9", 207, I mean, I still might because I still have about 10 to 15 pounds to grow, I think.
Guys, I just came up with a new product we can sell at the bullshit Olympia Expo next year.
Which
we have to come up with a contraption that stretches classic physique guys and make them taller.
Dude, the moon shoes. Remember the moon boots or whatever? They used to wear those like it was in Arnold's encyclopedia. It was like those shoes that you'd hang up upside down from the fucking pull-up bar,
chin up bar or whatever.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah. Fuck, man. So how much did you weigh on stage? You think?
I don't know on stage. My official weigh-in was 196.
So 196, and you could go up to potentially 215.
If they keep me at 5'10", 215. However, let's just say 5'9" for now. 207. But So there's 11 pounds to grow, which is a lot of fucking weight. And then if anyone knows, like the more muscle you put on, the leaner you can be. So like I had to gauge, like I had to like balance act to like make sure I don't get too depleted. So I do think there's still a little bit added conditioning I could have hit. So like another 3 to 4 pounds of conditioning I could have probably hit. I couldn't have for this show, otherwise I just would have been completely wasted away. But with the added muscle, I believe I could probably hit another 3 to 4 pounds. So that's like a 15-pound like gap that I have still of growth. So if I'm still 5'9". So I mean there's a lot of room, man. And going into
listen how stupid this fucking conversation is.
Yeah.
Like he's like, if I'm 5'9", if I'm 5'10", it's like you are definitely one of the two.
I'm
like,
I'm 5'9", but I mean,
they got to figure this shit out for you guys, man.
At the same time, I'm like, I don't know, man.
For this reason.
They need to just, here's your one show, dude. Get your fucking height at one show. There, you're 5'9". 5'9".
First show of the year. First show of the year. Whatever show you do, that's first in the year. That should be your height.
Absolutely. Doesn't make and not to mention the weigh-in was at 8 p.m. So a lot of guys they were actually like decompressed by the end of the night. So that's why Ramon was allegedly an inch shorter, 2 inches shorter than he normally is. I don't know the whole.
It would be kind of cool if they had like your stats on your pro card each year, you know? Like when you go in and you fucking weigh in and they like stamp it. They're like, all right, you were 275 this year. Good job. You know, and you can like track your progress. That'd be cool.
I wish they had like an athlete profile for that, right? And then it's like Tyler Johnson, 5'9", 207 weight cutoff, 195 actual weight at his last show. Then you have like all your freaking show history. Right?
They used to have that. I remember they used to have that. Even like they used to have CBBF placings and stuff in there.
Too many pros, yeah. Way too many.
There's too many, and there's no one to do it. There's no resource to have someone keep track of all these people now. So
I mean, you should as an organization, but
now it's basically just which pros have podcasts and which ones don't. So I guess
fend for yourself. We're contractors. I mean, at the end of the day, we're contractors. So I'm not gonna sit here and bitch and complain about what the IFBB isn't doing for us, because at the end of the day, we gotta fucking, I gotta put food on my table. So
let's start a union.
I can't expect anyone else to do shit for me.
IFBB pro union.
Yeah.
All right. We'll end it there. And fucking, I gotta go to the gym. I gotta get a fucking workout in. It's been a whole week.
Yeah, man.
It was like shit.
Fucking waiting all week for you.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Wait, one thing I just want to do a little shout out to
23s now or what?
I don't know. I think they got smaller.
I've
been off cycle for like 8 weeks, bro.
I thought you were on cycle right now.
No, I've been off for like 6 weeks now.
Oh shit! I thought you were all juiced up right now.
Do I look that good?
Yeah, you look pretty juiced up, dude.
Thanks, man.
You look full as fuck. I literally thought you were like blasting right now.
Dude, I've just been trying to hold my weight, man.
Yeah.
Tough. I came off cycle. I went from like 325 to like 312 in like a week. It was crazy.
That's all right though.
Yeah.
I got myself back up to like 317, 318. I'm just trying to hold this until we start.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like you're allowed to drop that. Your weight's a lot different because you're fucking 330 pounds. It's a lot different. So that fluctuation,
it's relative, right? Like
the 15-pound fluctuation, I should not have a 15-pound fluctuation. It should be 10.
Yeah.
But as you get rid of that water and inflammation from the drugs and fullness, now you're just climbing back up with the food and the training and the recovery. You're able to climb back up. Then you're able to set your point at 320. So then when you jump back on cycle, your 330 is way leaner than your previous 330. That's indicative of growth. Like if you're leaner at a weight that you were previously softer at, that means you grew into the weight. And that's why I don't believe in chasing weight necessarily. Is chasing the look within the weight. You know what I mean? Like
totally. Yeah. I think you graduate to that way of thinking just through experience. Like
100%. Because
that's what's happened to me. Totally.
Yeah, like that's why we're doing what we're doing and trying to share all the mistakes that we've made, because I've done all of these. Every mistake we're talking about, I've done the post show 40 pounds in 4 days. Couldn't get my shoes on. I've had to go to the hospital from fucking like just eating too much, low potassium, all this stupid shit. So that's why like people are like, oh, how do you get back on track? It's like, man, you literally just get back on track. Like you just start eating the foods that you were eating in your off season. Like you literally just don't go to fucking buy ice cream and you don't buy cookies and you just don't buy it. Like
not that hard, yeah.
It's literally not that hard.
Look at your meal plan and follow it.
Dude, I make my meal plan like 2 days out. Like if I'm 2 days out or on the plane or something on the way home from the show or whatever, I make my meal plan there. So I'm like, okay, here's the food I'm gonna go buy. Here's the food I'm gonna eat. that and it's food I enjoy. It's not like it's bland food. It's like I threw my potatoes back in, sweet potatoes.
Yeah,
A
dude,
little bit of
there's like
red
how many
meat.
foods realistically can we eat? There's like 20.
Exactly.
Like,
So I eat
yeah,
like the same fucking
yeah.
6 foods every day. It's just like I
Yeah.
might add a little bit of fruit now because I can. It's like might add a little bit of peanut butter because I can. It's like little things like that that are still like whole food sources, just that taste a little bit better that
Yeah, man,
add
this
to your
goes right
diet.
down to like our society and how weak everybody is. Like people literally think if they're not eating donuts and ice cream that they're starving.
Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
You know what I
that's
mean?
true.
It's pretty pathetic,
Like, don't get
actually.
me wrong, man. I had some treats for Christmas, but it's like I literally can't see myself like going out to buy like takeout food anymore, or like
Well,
going out to buy cookies. Like, you know, I just can't like.
people in fitness are getting soft because everybody does their weekly cheat meals, and that's just like
And they
that's the
glorify it.
standard. That's
They're
the
like waiting.
standard,
They're like
right?
waiting for me to post shit food, and it's like
Yeah.
they're more excited when I eat pancakes post show than they are about my show. Like
Well,
it's going on.
that's why people on YouTube who like eat like 20,000
20K.
calories in one sitting get like so many views because
Yeah,
people are obnoxious with that shit.
It's like a fetish almost in a weird
it
way.
is.
Exactly.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It literally is
Yeah.
a fetish.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's why,
fucking
like,
weird.
you know, part of me is like, fuck, should I just like cave one day and do it for YouTube? But then I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't. I
Nah,
literally.
dude, I would
I
never
don't
do
see the
calorie
Yeah,
purpose
challenge.
of it.
it's like it's great in theory, but when you're
In
actually doing
theory,
it, like that's a lot of stress for your body, and it's just such
dude.
a waste of money, dude.
I remember Fuad did the 20K challenge. He was talking about it on the podcast. He's like, I literally thought I was gonna die halfway through because he was like
Yeah.
17,000 calories in, and you just feel like, you know, I'm sure you guys have binged before, like post show especially. And your heart starts pounding like crazy, get crazy fucking headaches, and you know your blood pressure is like
Blood
fucking
sugar,
up.
dude. Blood sugar through the roof. Body spilling out insulin like crazy. It's
Start
so
shaking
bad.
all
If
day because
people are concerned about like professional bodybuilders and their lifespan, like what about professional eaters and their
yeah,
lifespan?
Cali muscle, and didn't he try and blame it on steroids?
Well,
Dude, I
he's
had a
on there,
comment
isn't
on
he?
this on
Dude,
the
he's
Greg
such an
Doucette
idiot. I'm
post,
sorry,
and it
but
blew up.
that guy's such an idiot because he's like, oh, steroids fucking almost killed me. It's like, bro, you do a 20K, you eat McDonald's every day, you do 20,000 calorie challenges every week. Like the food killed you, dude. Like your arteries were clogged up 100%. He had 100% blockage in one of his arteries. And he's like, yeah, the steroids almost killed me. It's like,
And the fucking years of mixing Pepsi with instant coffee
yeah,
pre-workout.
yeah. Like,
And the fucking the grams and grams of sodium in those ramen noodles and stuff,
the sugar, it's
blood
like,
pressure.
Steroids will kill you, man. Steroids
Yeah.
will kill you. He probably did crack and stuff too, man. This guy's nuts. Man.
but
He's a
if
hiking
he's
guy.
doing that, he's on something for sure. If he's telling me his steroids almost killed him and he was eating that much shit for 20 years, 30 years,
And he's definitely back on steroids.
why wouldn't he be?
Yeah. he didn't stop the steroids.
I'll never do steroids ever again. Maybe a little bit though. Just a little
It's
bit.
like 500 makes a test, a little bit of
TRT.
Yeah, TRT. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
Don't trust the idiots. Listen to us. All right.
Yeah.
We'll see you boys next week.